So I'm just heading into the marshland right now, and as you see, it's a foggy morning, so it's absolutely perfect for photography. These are really the conditions that I dream of when I want to, or when I go and take photos in the marshes. The mist helps so much for photography. It's amazing. When you've got ideal scenes like this, the hardest thing is sort of like keeping a cool head and taking time to look around and find a subject so you can take photos of it. And not trying to take too much, trying to just pick out one thing. So for me it would be a lone tree or just anything that is quite subtle, sorry. The mist has just gone in, or just come in, sorry. So I'm just taking a picture of the tree over there that you can barely see. Just wait a minute, I'm going to take another picture. I'm going to check the focus. So yeah, I was saying, I'm just taking the picture of the tree. I love how it's just, you can barely see it in the background. Oh, it's just revealing itself right now. You can just see it. Superb. What I was saying is that this blue pastel colour, hue, that is with the mist, I find so pleasing, so good. And I love how the mist can just hide things and just reveal them and just giving this sense that there's something. So that's why generally in my photos you can see this type of image. What's really important about this image is that not to blow it out, not to lose all that detail. So for that, I'm checking my histogram and I'm making sure I'm to the left hand side, okay? If you're to the left hand side, then you're underexposing the image, and then you're not blowing out all of those highlights. I'm also going to take one again, slightly higher exposure, sorry, just to make sure that I also get all of the detail in the shadow, not to lose all that detail in the shadow. And my camera should have all of the dynamic range, so I shouldn't really have much problem, but I just want to be sure. I'm going to see if a portrait orientation is better, which I quite like the negative space that it gives off. Now you can start to see the reflection, so I might just lower my composition slightly, modify it to include the reflection that I didn't have before. There you go. I'm taking quite a lot of the same image so that I don't regret not taking one, and that I have the most options when I'm back in my studio with Lightroom, and I can choose which one looks the best. I think that's it. You can see the tree a lot better now. The fog has receded a bit, and I think it's burning off because of the sun, but there's still plenty of things to take photos of. just behind you I can see an old fishing pole that's just coming out of the mist. So I think I'm going to turn around and take a few pictures of that. I really am quite spoilt for choice because I've just spotted another composition right over there. I'm not sure if you can see on the quarry. There's sort of like a group of birch trees, and just below them the fog. So I'm going to try to zoom in with my 70-200 lens and try to get them. At the moment I've got 1/13 of a second, f11 and ISO low. So on the Nikon Z7, sorry, I think it's 25. I can't remember if it's 25 or 50. Anyway, it's the lowest ISO of the camera. So I've just spotted that, and I'm also going to move it slightly before the fog completely recedes to another composition that I spied at the same time. So I'm taking it now in a bit of a rush because I'm scared that it's going to go away. So it's going away as you speak, and I hope you can't see there's a phone line that goes right through it. So I hope that you're not going to see the phone line, or a little bit of mist, or a little bit of mist might hide it, or something like that, hopefully. Just behind me, there's the fishing pole that's just visible, still visible. So I'm quite relieved that the fog hasn't completely burned up, and there's still an image there. Quickly, quickly, quickly. The mist is just burning up right now, so I think I took a bit too much time to take the image. So it's maybe not the same image that I wanted. It's a shame. I'm gonna take it anyway. You probably got a better video than I'm going to get a photo, so that's just how the cookie crumbles, probably. Might be able to do a little bit of magic afterwards, but in post, that's just how things go, really. So to make sure my focus is okay. Shit. I think the fog's coming back slightly, so I should be okay. Same principle as the other image, just to make sure I've got different framing, so that I always have different ideas and I'm not exactly sure which one will work the best. So I prefer to zoom in, zoom out, take a few different images of the same thing, different versions, to see which one works the best afterwards. So I've got the time, I don't need to rush. Yeah. So it's 1/8 of a second, f11, low ISO, and it should be okay. Yep. And I'm going to, I think that's a bit too high, I haven't got enough mist in it. So I'm going to centre it properly and let's see if that's okay. And also I'm going to take an image that I took in October last year. I think I screwed up the focus. So I'm going to take a panoramic just over there of the riverbank and another old fishing line that's out. So I'm going to take that right now. So I've just set up. and I'm just waiting for the little fishing line, fishing rod, whatever, I don't know, fishing net line or fishing net rod or whatever, I don't know how to call it. Anyway, I'm waiting for it to, fishing pole, I'm just waiting for it to reveal itself from the fog. So while we're waiting, I'm just going to give you a few tips on how to do a panoramic without sort of like an easy panoramic mode. So what you need to do is set up your tripod, make sure it's level, make sure your ball head is level. Then what you do is you set up your camera just like that, and you make sure you pan through your composition. You make sure you've got the digital level up if you're using mirrorless or if you're using a DSLR. So look on your screen and make sure that your level is consistently level throughout the image. If there's a little difference, it doesn't make too much of a difference, but it's best to make sure that it's all level, so when you combine it afterwards in Lightroom, it's a lot easier. And then what you do is, when you're doing that, you also display, you do once with your level, making sure it's all level, and you do a second time with your histogram, making sure there's no hot spots or no shadow area that's clipping on any part of the image. And that assures you that when you take the panoramic, there's not going to be any difference, and you can compensate according, or if one part's darker than the other, you can always expose one photo more than the other. So what we're going to do is we're going to take one photo at the start, one photo in the middle, and one photo at the end, or how many photos it takes to compile the composition, to make the composition, and then that's it really. It's as simple as that. But you just have to make sure that your tripod's level, because otherwise Lightroom won't do the job. Or Photoshop, if you're using Photoshop, or an equivalent software. But anyway. So while I'm waiting, and when I've been talking to you, I've just spied the composition that I was taking photos of just literally 5 seconds ago. So I'm going to take that again, because the mist is constantly changing. So that looks quite good, while I wait for the mist to clear on the other composition. So there. So, but it's a slightly different composition because I've moved slightly, so I'm just going to check focus again, because it's always good to check focus. But I should be focused on infinity, so it does. I always like to make sure. And so there's nothing worse than when you get into Lightroom and you just see that your image is out of focus. That's so annoying. So you can't save that. You have to get the focus right. And what I do with my images is that because I'm using a F2 sugar puff, I'm going to take that again because I think I knocked my tripod. What I tend to use, or tend to do, because I'm using a F2Z adapter for my old Nikon F lenses on my Z7, the focus is not that reliable sometimes, especially with these 10-1 lenses. They're fine with the Nikon D750, sorry. 750, D750. Yeah, fine with that, but now I prefer to do everything manual, especially when I'm doing images like this. So I've got the time, and I just check everything manually. So they've got a focus dial on the top, so it's quite easy to always check your focus, make sure everything's absolutely fine. A little note to self, always bring more than 2 batteries, because I just spent the last 5 minutes changing battery on my XT3, all because I had, or luckily I've got 4 batteries, so I've just run through 2 and I'm on my 3rd, but my 4th was not charged. So luckily I had one last battery to put in my XT3, but always charge all of your batteries before you go out. So you just missed my first attempt at this composition because I'm running out of battery as well on this camera, so I might have to change again my batteries again. Anyway, this is my third attempt at this panoramic. You missed my first two attempts because the first one I wanted to get in and not miss it. Second one I wanted to do it and not miss it, and you ran out of battery. So now I'm going to take this composition for a third time, and hopefully it'll give you 3 different versions of the same image. I'm slightly more zoomed in than I was before, so I'm going to take this panoramic twice because I found that it works slightly better. But again, I'm taking a picture, moving along, taking another, moving along, taking another. So while making sure that everything's level, or I made sure everything was level, so everything should be fine. And another good tip is to always zoom out slightly more and than you need to. There, to get less reflection. So zoom out slightly more than you need to. Make sure your exposure's fine. Make sure you're straight, and then you should be good to go. Take first image. Move it along. Make sure you always have a part of the image overlapping. So I usually make sure that I've got a good like half or third of the image overlapping. Then you should be absolutely fine in Lightroom. Stitching it all back together. I've just spied another composition in the opposite direction from the composition that I last took. So basically I just turn around and there's this scene right at the end of the river before it turns, where there's this little bush or little tree just in the last bit of the haze and the fog, with the mist evaporating, yeah, I think rolling off the river. So I'm just going to take that picture, that last picture. So again, I'm a lot faster than I was, so I'm at 1/80th of a second at f11 ISO low 1. So I'm going to take that image. I'm focused again at to infinity, so I should be okay. I had no need for a 2-second delay or 5-second delay because I'm so fast. So I might as well. I could always shoot it handheld, so there's no point in having it on a tripod. I usually use a tripod because when there's low light, there's slow shutter speed, so I prefer to crank my ISO right down to keep picture quality at its best, and then use the tripod to get low on the exposure settings, so around 1 second, so like 1/10 of a second or something like that, and just to have the ideal image. Hope you enjoyed this vlog, this video, and you found a few tips and a few things interesting. So I'll see you next time, where I'll be out either taking photos of landscapes or of my village or of the town or whatever. So I'll see you next time, and yeah, have a good one. Et je veux dire au revoir aux Français qui me regardent parce qu'ils ont dû endurer les sous-titres. parce que oui, je suis anglais et je parle anglais pour avoir une plus grande visibilité. Yay, mais je vous oublie pas. Gros bisous et puis à la prochaine. A plus.